Go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, so I'm still up here because there's a bit of news that I want to share with you guys as a church. It's news that brings a change for Lisa, my wife, and me in our lives. That in turn means a change for how some things are going to look around here. I recently accepted a position at Hughley Hospital for their clinical pastoral education. It's called CPE, basically clinical pastoral education, and it's an essential step towards becoming a hospital chaplain. Hospital chaplaincy is something that I've been praying about and thinking about for a number of months now. It kind of began actually when Colby Omperon and I, a guy many of you may know, he and I sat in a room together and played music for a 12-year-old boy named Luke Siegel with a traumatic brain injury. And watching the way that music affected him and being in that room made a huge impact on me. My wife also works at Cook Children's Hospital, and I've just gotten to know their director of pastoral care a bit, and just through a number of conversations, have really felt like this was something worth pursuing. And my own timeline in my own head would be that I could do CPE part-time in the fall and then see what would happen in 2018. But Hughley called me a couple of weeks ago and said, we'd like to offer you a position in our summer program, and it's full-time. And it is accelerated beyond what I thought might happen, but enough things had happened in our life to make us feel like that door had opened for a reason and it was worth saying yes to. And so I thought my emotions might get the better of me, so I did bring a list of the things I want to say because I'm not very good at this. Well, one thing I want to say is that what this means for our church is a couple of things. So my CPE begins on June the 12th, which is coming up pretty quick. I will be here for every Sunday in the month of June. But then beginning in July, I won't be around on Sunday mornings anymore here at Trinity Chapel. What this means for my wife and me, though, so there's more to it than that. We'll also be stepping away from our time here, from worshiping with you guys on Sunday mornings. There's a few facets of our faith that we desire to explore together and feel like that a change of environment might be helpful in that process. But I want to tell you how gut-wrenching this is for us, because you're our people. Like, I don't have friends in this town that don't go to this church, and that's not an exaggeration. Maybe that's embarrassing, but that's not an exaggeration. This is the only church we've gone to here. You guys have been incredibly supportive and loving to us in our relationships. You've helped me almost get my seminary degree. CPE actually will finish that process. It counts as my last 2 credits I need for that. So when I get my certification, I'll also finish seminary at the same time. Not only that, I play guitar for my job here. It's mind-blowing that I've gotten paid to sing with you guys each week, to be a part of the things that Christ is doing in your life in some way, to hear those stories. And so this is a real mixed bag for us. But like I said, there's been enough things that have been pointing in a common way, in a common direction, in the same way for a number of months, that sometimes you just feel like that's for a reason. And you have to trust as you move forward. And that's what we're trying to do now. And so that's a bit about what is happening. I realize these announcements can often come fairly sudden and feel quick, and so I want to talk a bit about what isn't happening, maybe answer some of the questions that an announcement like this may bring up for you. One of the things is that this isn't because something weird has happened behind the scenes and I'm no longer fit for my role or my ministry or anything appropriate like that. There isn't something like that that's happened here. I'm also not seeking out a position in a bigger church with moving lights and smoke or more people or anything like that. We genuinely love the size of this church. And again, we've loved the relationships that we've had here. It isn't anything that anybody here has said. None of you have said anything that has set us off. It wasn't something Johnny said or Keith said. Some things Sarah said were close, but even they weren't quite enough. And it's also not that I'm sick of this or have been disappointed in the role that I've gotten to serve in here at this church. That's, again, one of the things that's made this really, really difficult, is because there's a lot of love for you guys. There's a lot of love for what I've been able to do. And to be completely frank with you, I'm kind of scared about what's next, because I don't know that I'm going to like this as much. And I don't know where it's going to lead, honestly, but it feels right. And so we've decided to trust that that's happening for a reason. And as your friend, I'd ask that you offer me that same trust, knowing that hopefully God is doing something here, and that if that is the case, if there really is something happening in our lives, it's happening on both sides too. There's something great that's going to develop here, as there is more room for other people to grow and to lead. We have a really committed group of musicians here who are committed to seeing this thing move forward. They are really talented, and I promise you that there's still good things ahead from our team as a band. I think I said almost everything I want to, except for one last thing. There are a lot of fun things that have been developing here in the past several months. You're coming on board and us having a lead pastor again. Like I mentioned, our music team has just found some cohesion and a groove that we haven't had before necessarily. There's some great new ministries that are starting up that I would have loved to have been more of a part of and experienced the fruit of that. I'm saddened to miss that, but was reminded that it's not me that did any of those things. It's Christ in me, and it's Christ in you leading those things forward. And I know that that continues far beyond any one person. And so as we think about what's next, as we move through this next month, I would humbly ask for your prayers and be grateful for them. Prayers for our congregation, prayers for our staff and elders as they talk about what's next, for our music team as well, for whoever our next worship leader is going to be, and then for Lisa and me as we move forward and do so as a terrified little boy, kind of what I feel like in a little bit of ways, and I'm sure that's what it'll be, that first hospital room I walk into. But I believe God's going to be with me in that too. So we wanted to share that with you ourselves.
I want you to stay up here just a second. Do you hear how quiet it is right now? That says something. Actually, that speaks volumes to the impact that you've had here. And I could not have more respect for you to stand up and share how God's leading you when you know that the room you're going to share that with, it's going to hurt. That takes a lot of courage and a lot of boldness. I know I recently had to do that. And I could not have more respect for the way that you've gone about this. And I probably only know a fraction of what you're feeling in this moment, but that fraction that I'm feeling is quite significant. We have so valued our friendship with you and Lisa, and you guys played a huge part in making us feel welcomed here when we got here. I've loved being on the same team with you. You bring such heart and such character to our team. And I'm going to get emotional too. And also, like, I've told you this before, I've never worked with such a gifted worship director before. And we all know your musical gifts, but your giftings go way beyond that. And even this morning I was thinking about how you have such a sensitivity to the Spirit to say the right thing in the right moment to help lead us all into God's presence. And you've been doing that for years and years. I've enjoyed it for the last 9 months. And anyway, I'm sure I speak for all of us when I just tell you how much we've appreciated your ministry here. And maybe we can just sort of show him a little bit. Yeah, so you guys can have seats. So yeah, this is hard, and this is sort of a sad time, but this is also exciting. Amen. And I was thinking, if I was lying in a hospital bed, like, who would I rather have come see me than Stephen Couch? I mean, really. So, at times like this, we can take either a small perspective or we can take a big perspective. If we take a small perspective, we sort of think about ourselves. And if we just think about ourselves, if we just think about Trinity Chapel, then we're losing a great leader and a great man. And all we're going to feel is loss, and all we're going to feel is sadness and maybe even fear about the future. Or we can take sort of a big view, a kingdom view. God's kingdom isn't losing in this. God's doing what he always does. He takes his people and he moves them around for his maximum glory, for his maximum impact. And that's exactly what's happening here. This may have come at a surprise to us, may have come at a surprise to the Couches, but this doesn't surprise God. He's been preparing them for this for a long time. And so what we need is what all of us need whenever life doesn't go according to the script that we would have written, which is almost always. How often does life go exactly like you want it to go? Not very often. And so it's in those moments that God asks us to trust him, to have faith that he's in control, that his ways are higher than our ways, that he's sovereign. And so we kind of get an opportunity to practice what we preach. God is trustworthy. He's faithful. He's been faithful in the past. He will be faithful in the future to us as a church and to the Couches and where God's leading them. Amen. So before we sort of move forward, let me pray for us and pray for the Couches.